join me today. If you are ready to get started, I want you to drop the word heal into the chat, and we are going to send you our 3-step guide to getting real results for yourself and for your clients. I would love to know where you are joining us from today. It looks like today's guest was unable to join us, so you get me. I am your host, Piper Gibson, Director of Course Enrollment. Welcome to the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real results for their client and for themselves. My name is Piper Gibson, and let me tell you a little bit about what prompted me to become an FDN. So 8 years ago, my son was diagnosed with a transient neurological tic. So it's much like Tourette's syndrome. Honestly, one day he was fine, and the next day he was twitching and ticking and blinking his eyes and clearing his throat. And to be honest, as parents, we were completely terrified. It started us on a journey of seeing doctor after doctor. We tried prescription after prescription. We did tons of things to try and help my son, but nothing was working. So I had to start doing my own research and figure out what might be causing this issue, what we could do to help him get back on track. And that is how I found FDN. I actually had a friend who had worked with a couple of FDNs, and she said, hey, you should really check out this program. I think it would be super beneficial for you. So of course I logged on, and within about 2 days I was registered for the course. I was like, this is it. This is going to be life-changing for us. So I didn't necessarily start out with the goal of becoming a practicing FDN, but I started out with the goal of helping my son. So I started the course in 2017. I graduated in December of 2017. It did take me 4 months to complete the course. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, can I complete the course while I have a full-time job, while I'm at home with my kids? And I will tell you that I completed the course in 4 months while homeschooling 2 kids. So if I can do it, you can do it. It is totally possible to get through the course in 3 to 6 months. So it took me 4 months to complete the course, and I launched my business in January of 2018. I have been practicing as an FDN for 2.5 years now, and I see clients both virtually and in person. My virtual business has grown greatly, but when I first started out, I actually had friends and family members and people in our local community that said, hey, will you open an office? We'd really like to see you in person. So I do have a small office where I see people in person as well. So I do both virtual and in person, and it works for me. And I think you really have to do what works for you as an FDN. Lab testing and the FDN approach really changed our lives. So for the most part, when it came to my son, there was no lab testing. I mean, we even went to neurologists where they were like, well, he'll grow out of it. There's nothing you can do about it. He just needs a good spanking. They weren't wanting to run brain scans. They weren't wanting to run lab tests. We actually went to an allergist where I begged him to run allergy tests, food allergy tests, and he wouldn't do it. So we were missing a huge piece of the puzzle when it came to really trying to figure out what was going on with my son. And so being able to run lab testing like organic acids, stool sensitivity, stool pathogen testing, leaky gut, all of these things that we were able to look at. Food sensitivities was a big one for us. We were able to run all of these lab tests and really get under the hood. So when you are driving your car down the road and the check engine light comes on, you might ignore it for a little while, but after a while, you're going to pull that car into the mechanic, and you are going to want your mechanic to really look under the hood. You don't want a mechanic that's just going to walk around the outside and give a little knock and say, just need some gas, go home. You want someone to look under the hood. And that's really what the FDN approach did for me. It helped us to look under the hood. So that was huge. The other thing that FDN really did was that I thought I felt great. There was nothing wrong with me. I didn't need to run any testing on myself. But one of the cool parts of the FDN program is that Reed wants you to walk the talk. He wants you to experience what the FDN process is like. So I ran lab tests begrudgingly on myself, and I found out some really fascinating information. So I found out that my hormones were out of whack, that I had some gut microbiome issues because I had done a stool pathogen test. So I found out all this fascinating stuff about myself. And I made big changes, not just in my son, but in myself. So doing diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, on supplementation. And within the first 6 months of running those tests, graduating from FDN, I actually easily lost 10 pounds because I had made all of these beneficial changes for myself. So that was a really awesome part of using the lab work on myself. The other really cool thing is that as an FDN, I find that the lab work really helps my clients to see what's going on under the hood. It really helps them to get the idea of what's happening, because so many of them are told nothing's wrong, everything's normal, it's all in your head, and they still feel like poo. They just don't feel good. So for them to really get that deeper picture, and we're not going to treat the paper, we're not going to treat or diagnose, but we're going to use that valid data that we have taken and really use it to figure out how we can approach the body holistically, how we can look at all of the body systems together. And that also helps them to be so much more compliant because they can see it on paper and we've compared it to their symptoms and how they're feeling. And it really makes a huge difference for them. If you are just joining me, hey everybody, my name is Piper Gibson. I am the Director of Course Enrollment for Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. And we are talking a little bit about my experience as an FDN and how I became an FDN. If you are just joining us, drop the word HEAL, HEAL, into the chat, and we are going to send you our 3-step guide for getting real results. And if you have any questions, absolutely drop those in the chat too. I would love to answer those for you. Let's get a little bit interactive. But one of the fantastic, super fantastic things about functional diagnostic nutrition is the community. I think FDN has one of the tightest and brightest communities I have ever been a part of. And I will tell you, I have been part of a lot of communities. I have been part of a lot of girl gangs. I have a lot of support groups and a lot of friends that, we've made some big groups together. But the FDN community is the most amazing group I've ever been a part of because everybody is so intelligent, everybody has a different perspective, and everybody is always willing to help. So once you are an active FDN and you are in our FDN support groups, there is always somebody who can answer a question for you. If you maybe have a new client that's having some issues, or if you have a client that doesn't want to do a blood test, or maybe you even have a question about what your client's tests mean and how they look and what kind of approach you can take, there is always somebody to ask, and it's always interactive. And the really awesome part is that it's not just other FDNs, but you've got Reed in there, and he's so generous with his time. And it's amazing to interact with him and get his opinion because he has the most clinical lab experience probably of anybody in the world. He's lab tested thousands and thousands of people. So to be able to pick Reed's brain and, work with him and get his perspective is incredible. So the FDN community cannot be beat. It's so supportive and it's so amazing. And I love every second of it. So I would just get in the support group and read what everybody else is doing because there's always something to be learned there. It's so great. My niche and ideal client revolves around families. I really was drawn to this niche because of my own experience and how I felt as a parent and how my son felt and everything that we needed to put into improving his health. So I work with families. And the reason that I don't just work with children is because I am of the express opinion that it takes the entire family to be involved in changing your child's health. You can't just take the pizza away from little Johnny and then his brother and sister are eating pizza. He doesn't understand it, and it's not supportive, and it's really hard for him or her to understand the situation. And so I really like to work with the entire family cohesively to make big changes, because not only is it going to help little Johnny's health, but the whole family is going to start to change. And I've noticed with a lot of my clients that a lot of the parents, like myself, were like, I didn't feel bad. I didn't think anything was wrong with me. Yet I made all of these changes along with my child, and I feel amazing. And it's like a cloud has been lifted. They don't realize how bad they feel as an adult until they make these changes. And then it's like, oh, everything becomes clear, and it's so amazing. So my niche is really working with families. I do focus on families who feel like they're lost in their child's diagnosis. I feel like a diagnosis is, yes, a label, but I feel like we as parents are looking for answers. When our child is struggling, we are looking for answers that nobody seems to have. And so I really feel like when you're lost in your child's diagnosis, that it's like a fireworks grand finale. You finally get that big appointment with the doctor. You are really excited to go. You're like, this is going to be our answer. We are going to have so many answers. It's going to be awesome. And then you go to the appointment, and the doctor's like, well, he has a tick, just ignore it. And it's comparable to a fireworks display. You're getting all excited. Yes, it's going to be the grand finale, and everything's going off. And then the fireworks end, and you kind of look around, and you're like, was that it? Is it over? And a diagnosis is the same way. It's like, was that it? Is it over? That did me no good. I don't have any answers. I'm still in the same place I was before. And I had built up all of this hope, and I'm still in the same place. And so that's really why my niche is parents who feel lost in their child's diagnosis, because they want somebody to hold their hand. I wanted somebody to hold my hand. I wanted somebody to guide me and tell me where to go, what to do, what I should be feeding my son, what direction we should go. I wanted a step-by-step plan, which is absolutely what FDN taught me to provide all of my clients, all of my families, all of the people that I'm working with. Yes, they become my family because we work so closely together. So that's really why I picked that particular niche. So it doesn't matter what that diagnosis is. It's like, I feel lost and I don't know what to do. So like I said, I work virtually and in person, and I also work part-time. As you know, I also work for Functional Diagnostic Nutrition as the director of course enrollment, which is pretty much one of the most awesome jobs ever. I get to work with my own clients part-time, which gets me out of bed in the morning. It is just so exciting. I love to work with my clients. But also on the other end, I get to work with this incredible team. I get to work with Reed, and I get to put them both together. So honestly, quite honestly, I have like the two of the best jobs on the planet. If you guys are watching and you're listening or you're just joining, make sure to drop the word heal into the chat, and we are going to send you our 3-step guide. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to answer. So drop those in the chat as well. If you're watching and you want to know how you can get in touch with me, my personal website is regenerating.health, not .com, but .health. And you can find me on Instagram at Regenerating Health, and you can find me on Facebook at Regenerating Health. If you are in love with what I have said about functional diagnostic nutrition, you can also find me at FDN. As well, just drop it in the chat, and I will definitely get in touch with you if you want to know more about functional diagnostic nutrition as well. So my number one tip, tool, or piece that I learned from FDN that has made all of the difference in the world is that You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you can find somebody, an FDN, or take the FDN course, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You are going to be given that approach, that step-by-step approach that is going to help heal yourself or heal your clients. So, that was one of the greatest things that I learned at FDN, was how to have that personal step-by-step approach. I don't know why I want to say 3 all the time, but it's not. But it's that step-by-step approach. And that is really what was a big thing for me with FDN, is lay it out for me. Tell me how to do it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to do something that's totally workable. And that is what's fantastic about FDN. If you are a health coach or professional that's watching right now, I absolutely, if you've not taken the FDN course, I highly recommend jump in, dive in, take the FDN course. My motto is always go big or go home. And one of the biggest things you can do is take this course. If you're a health coach and you feel like you're struggling, FDN is going to completely change what you're doing. It's going to give you the tips, the tools, the resources, everything that you need to be super successful. One of my number one tips is, when you take the course, do what Reed says. If you do what Reed says, if you really work FDN how Reed recommends that you work it, it works for you. It just works. It's magical. It just works. A lot of people say, oh, I can't do that. It's too hard. But if you do what he says, it is not too hard, and it is awesome, and you will have a thriving business. So take the course, listen to Reed. Those are totally my 2 top tips. And if you are struggling to get results with your health, and maybe you're struggling to get results with your child, you're struggling to get results with your own health, test, don't guess. Look under the hood. Get under there, run some tests, really find out what's going on. But at the same time, work with somebody who can put it all together for you. Somebody who can guide you and hold you accountable and give you everything that you need to really get back on that healing path. And so don't go it alone, which is a huge piece of advice for me, is don't try to do it alone. I did it alone for a long time, and it's really, really hard, and it's really, really long, and it's very much of a struggle. So don't do it alone. If you are struggling with your health, find somebody who can help you. Get with an FDN, find someone who can guide you in that process. Becky says, COVID-19 supplement suggestions. So here's the thing about supplements. We'll dig in a little bit. Supplements can be great, but if you are living a rough life, Reed likes to say you lived yourself into it. If you have a poor immune system, if you are not eating healthy, if your body is not at optimum levels, taking a bunch of supplements is going to be like spraying a water hose on a 3-alarm fire. It's like, psh, it's not really going to do very much. You really want to work on creating an optimal environment for your body. And you can do that by making sure that you eat right. So diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. Give your body and your cells the soil that it needs to perform at its optimal levels. And then if you need some supplements on top of it, that can be a great thing to add in. But my thing with supplements is I really don't like to guess and say, hey, take this, take that. I like to run some tests and say, okay, well, maybe there's some deficiency here, some deficiency there. So my number one really important thing about, especially now in COVID, and what I really just taught in my own immune boosting workshop, is follow a really healthy diet. Get rid of those inflammatory foods, especially sugar. Sugar can lower your immune system for like up to 4 hours after you eat it. So, get rid of the sugar, get rid of the gluten and the dairy that can be really inflammatory for a lot of people. Eat that healthy diet. Look at your toxins in your environment. What are you cleaning with? I know people have gone bleach crazy, but bleach can actually be a toxin. And so, make sure that you're washing your hands and staying healthy. It's not just about like taking a bunch of supplements and if you don't have that healthy environment. So I would definitely recommend like look at where you're starting with before you start tossing in the supplements. Does FDN have doctors on staff that can order tests on our behalf? So the cool thing about FDN, and one of the unique things about FDN that really sets us apart, is that we have a medical director program. So as a graduate of the course, you are able to order lab tests through the medical director program. It is run by a doctor. So you are going to work with FDN, you sign in an agreement, and then you order those tests for your clients direct to consumer. So you order the test kits are shipped to your client does the testing. The testing is sent back to the lab in its little prepackaged FedEx or UPS envelope. And then the lab analyzes it and you get the test results from FDN. And then you can use that data to help your clients with a personalized protocol. So that's how FDNs have access to lab testing. And we aren't using that lab testing to treat or diagnose anybody. We're just using it as valuable data to really take a better look under the hood and kind of see what's going on and look for those hidden stressors. So if you didn't see yesterday's Health Coach Tip Tuesday, go watch Health Coach Tip Tuesday from yesterday. It's about hidden internal stressors. And Reed and I really get into looking for those hidden stressors in the body. You had oats and other tests per functional doctor. So Becky says, I had oats and other professional tests through a functional doctor. And now my friend is watching who is an amazing energy healer. See, that's awesome, Becky. I think that testing makes a huge difference. I know it made a huge difference for us, made a huge difference for my clients. It's made a huge difference for clients all over the world who've worked with other FDNs because we're looking at it from a different holistic perspective. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. And if you are ready to become a true health detective so you can help yourself and others on a deeper level, you can schedule a call with me or with Jess or with Kelly. We are all available to get on the phone with you. And the way to register for a call is functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor. And I don't know why that happened, but sorry. Okay, /counselor. Or if you are really ready to enroll in the course, you can register at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/be-live. Okay. You are, oh my gosh, I don't know why that's happening. I don't know why it's ringing on my computers. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. You are a national board certified health coach and we have certain restrictions. Does FDN help with staying within those guidelines? You would have to really kind of see I am not familiar with what the NBCHC guidelines are. So you would have to kind of compare and contrast those with what FDN teaches to see if that's going to stay within your scope. So I would really recommend you compare and contrast the two. You can get on a call with me and I can help you look at the details. My name is Piper Gibson. I am the director of course enrollment for FDN. What is the final FDN test like? I'm not the best test taker. Clarissa, the final FDN test is not that hard. So there is a written test that you must pass, but you can use all the information from the course to complete that written test. You'll turn that in before you graduate. So it's not a timed test. It is a written test. We really want to make sure that you grasp the concept. The other thing is you are going to do the FDN protocols on yourself so that you know how to walk the talk. You are going to know how to do it on yourself so that you can work with other people. There is also a practicum at the end. We're going to give you some mock clients And then you are going to come up with a protocol for those clients, and you will go over those on the phone with one of the FDN mentors. So Reed wants to make sure that you have the absolute best grasp on FDN before he sets you free into the world to help other people. The test is not bad. You can totally do it. Any other questions, you guys, before I sign off? Thank you for joining me today. If you're just joining or you're watching the replay, make sure to drop the word heal into the chat, and we are going to send you our 3-step guide to getting real results. And like I said, if you are interested in booking a call with me or Jess or Kelly, you can do that at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor. And then if you are interested in finding out more about what I do with families and children, you can find me at regenerating.health, Regenerating Health on Facebook, and Regenerating Health on Instagram. And if you are watching the replay, totally drop those questions in there, and I will, or myself, Kelly, or Jess will get to those. We'll get those answered for you. So thank you guys for joining me on the Real Results Show. It's been an adventure today, and I'm glad you guys had a lot of questions. And we will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Thank you, Becky, Clarissa, and Hala for joining me today, and we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.